Hey guys, it's Lisa with Are You My Cousin? And it's time for our weekly genealogy chat because I love to talk about genealogy, all topics that are there. So I want to welcome you today. I would love it if you would pop in the comments maybe something genealogy related that you're working on this week. Let me know what you might be working on as you're coming in. I found an interesting clue it's on my husband's line that connects. We knew the family came from Russia to the UK, to England, to New York. And so I've actually found a clue to more of the family that might have stayed in the London area as opposed to not all of the family coming across. So that's what I've been working on. In fact, I was almost late today to my live here because I was following that trail. And well, you're genealogy researchers, you know how that goes. It gets very distracting, doesn't it? So anyway, welcome. If this is your first time meeting me, I am Lisa Listen. I have the website Are You My Cousin? And I work really hard to take the overwhelm out of your genealogy research. So I'm glad you are here. Feel free as we go along today to pop any questions or comments you have in the comment section. I do see those, and I'd love for us to be rather interactive today with what we're doing. I am sitting in my office here in North Carolina on a very sunny, warm, humid day here in North Carolina, but you know, I love living here. We have, it might get hot and humid, but it's still a beautiful day out there. So I'm glad to be here with you guys today while I sit in my air-conditioned office, right? All right, so those of you who are just coming in, love to, hey Martha, oh, you finally made it back. I'm so glad you made it back, yay. Glad to have you here. As you're coming in, if you think of something, if you want to tell me something you've been working on from a genealogy perspective, feel free to drop that in there today. I'd love to hear from that. Hey, Danya from Lawrenceburg, Georgia. Nice to see you again this week. I do appreciate those of you who pop in every week. It really makes me feel really good. Thank you so much. And feel free to invite your friends to come along. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's happening over here at the Are You My Cousin, in the Are You My Cousin world, I guess we should say. So a couple things. We're still on that virtual summer road trip that we're making through the FindMyPast US records, because they do have quite a number of US relevant records. They're either US records or they're relevant to our US research that are over there at FindMyPast that I think we're missing. And the reason I say that is because I'm missing those records. That's where I discovered the clue I was mentioning earlier as you guys were coming in, that I discovered a really interesting clue for one of my husband's ancestors, and that some of the families stayed behind in England in their migration from Russia to the US. And so I'm hot on the trail now using those records to find out who that family is and what family might still be there in England. So it's really exciting. You know, I love to do that kind of stuff. So that's what I've been working on over here. So definitely, with that summer road trip, we have been in Cincinnati for the last 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks. We are finishing up in Cincinnati, and we are on the road, and we'll be in New York City next Monday. So watch the website and your emails for all the information and the things that we're doing surrounding genealogy research in New York City. And I want to give you a heads up, guys. Mark your calendars. And if you're watching this on replay, it may or may not pertain to you. But on July 26, 2021, okay, so we at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, FindMyPast and I, Jen Baldwin of FindMyPast, and I will be talking with Josh Taylor of New York Genealogical and Biographical Society on New York City research. So we are super, super excited to have him come join us, and we're going to talk even more about New York City genealogy because there is a ton of it to do, right? Yep. All right, let's see who else coming in. Hey, Danny, hot and humid, Loveland, Ohio. Yes, it does get humid there too, doesn't it? Linda's from New Jersey Shore. Bet you're enjoying that breeze. Hey, Elle, it's nice to see you. Nancy said she's looking for French-Canadian great-great-grandmother, Emily Perrin's baptismal record. You found all her siblings but can't find hers. Also, her death certificate. You do have the marriage certificate. Wonderful. Best of luck in your research on that, Nancy. So if anybody coming in actually has French-Canadian ideas, pop them in there or contact Nancy later. That is so hard when you find like everyone but the one you're looking for. It's kind of that is difficult, definitely. Hey, Phil from Detroit, and Nancy's from California. Wonderful. All right, so another thing that's happening in my world, and you guys know that I actually love Vivid-Pix to edit my photos, and they are doing a really fun whodunit this summer, and so I'm going to pop that in there. They have some really fun prizes at the end if you get through it at the end. It's called Help Fund Uncle George. It's a Vivid-Pix genealogy whodunit mystery, and so it's a really fun thing to do. I think you guys might enjoy that. It's a good way to learn how to, if you're wondering about Vivid-Pix and trying to use it, it's a great way to test it out and see how it works for you. But I think you'll really enjoy it. It's about old photos, so you're going to learn a lot about old photos as well. Hey, M. Daniely from Oxland, Maryland. Wonderful. So glad to have you guys. Hey, Lynn from Canada. Yay. Oh, we're all international today, aren't we? Okay. So the last thing I wanted to share with you, you guys may not know, if you have not seen on my site, it's called the Everything page because, well, I couldn't think of anything else to name it, and I'm not really good at titles. But anyway, I have on my thing, you'll see it in the top part of the menu on my website. It's called the Everything page. So if you have not gotten hold of all of my freebies that I have over there, hop over there after this and check it out and see if you've gotten all of the freebies that I offer there. I'll put the link there in the chat for you guys. So you'll see that. You'll see all the offers that I have there, but you definitely will see all the freebies that I have there, as well as some of the paid offerings. But make sure I do update that. And so, if you've checked it before, you might want to check it again, because I do update it when I create new freebies and things for you guys to use in your research. So I would love to have you there. Diane, so are there any records for the cruise ships from Europe? Your grandfather got a job on a ship, and the ship arrived in Canada. He got off and did not go back. He then walked to the U.S. It was early 1900. I'm not 100% sure about the crew list. I think there are some, but if they're consistent across the board, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't done that. If anybody knows if there were cruise list records for the crews of the ships, which I think they were, I'm just not exactly sure where they'd be. Pop that into the comments, Diane. That would really help her out. Also, this one was coming into, they could be, Diane, they could be on the European side, or they could be in the Canadian side. Either one probably might be options for where those records could be. Now, it's interesting you said that he got a job on the ship to come over to the U.S. and then walk into Canada, because it may have been cheaper for him to come in to Canada and then come into the U.S. And so that's one of the reasons people did come into Canada first. There was a time period where it was less expensive for them to get passage there, and of course it sounds like he was working his way across perhaps, and then to come into the U.S. that way. So interesting there. I'd love to hear what other people have to say about that. Okay, this is a genealogy grab bag today, guys. So it's about readers' questions. These are some of the common questions that I get. I like to do this every now and then because I do get questions that I think would be really helpful to a lot of folks, but you might not think to ask, or you might not have been seen in the group yet. So I wanted to bring this here. If you guys want to chime in on any questions of your own, feel free to do that. In this setting, I like to do, if it's a question that's going to be really helpful for the group, that's the best way to do it. But also feel free to pop them into the Are You My Cousin Facebook group. And that's also a good way to ask as well. That gets a lot of details there too. So definitely good for that. All right. Catherine asked, when did the Canadian border crossing records start? And I have just drawn a blank. Can anybody tell me? It was in the it was late. It's a lot later than you think. I do remember that. Hang on one second. Canadian. I will look it up for you and tell you. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the wiki. Find My Family Search has a great wiki for that, and I am going to pop that in there so that you can. It's late 18. I think it's in the 1890s that it's, and it may be past that. This is the wiki. I just popped that in the comments, guys, for the article on that, and that'll tell you all about it, because as it changed over time, it'll tell you what was required and what wasn't required there. So you guys can have that. So one of the again, it's a really interesting question. I thought this was such a great question. I don't know if I've talked about it in a long time, But a reader actually emailed me and asked me if she had a tree on Ancestry.com, and as well as the other databases, such as FindMyPast and MyHeritage. And she was wondering if she had the trees there, why did she need, or did she need, a separate tree, say on like a Family Tree Maker or a Roots Magic type thing, so separate offline tree. And I thought it was a great question, because we did kind of, wonder that. The reason is, and the reason I believe that we need both, is because when you have your tree on Ancestry or FindMyPast or Family Search or any of these, if they go away, if those platforms were to ever go away, not that I think they are, but if something should happen, if maybe you don't have, maybe you lose internet connection, and you're wanting to work on your tree, or for whatever reason, if they go away, you don't have anything. You don't have your records. You don't have your trees. So I think it's really important to have one that you have ultimate control over. So I typically use Family Tree Maker. Some people use Roots Magic, which is really, all of them are really great. I just have always used Family Tree Maker. I don't have a lot of experience with the other ones. That one fit my needs, so I was good to go. But I do think you need to have a separate tree offline, so that anytime if something should happen, then you're good to go. I don't want you to lose your records, basically, with that. So that's going to be my recommendation. Now, what do I have and what do I do? So I have family trees at MyHeritage, MyHeritage, Ancestry, and FindMyPast. I use Family Tree Maker for everything, and I back that up periodically to the cloud. So I'll just download it, back it up, so that I create a backup for that in the cloud somewhere. And I use Dropbox and Google both for cloud storage, so I've got that somewhere else and it's safe. I know I can always access it, and I'm not going to lose anything with that. Those are the choices that I make with. That's where I've personally put my stuff, but I think there are other ways to put it out there as well. I think all of the family tree type of software that I've heard about have do a really good job. I just haven't had that much experience with others. So if you have and want to drop that into the comments, that's great. That's great to let us know kind of how that works for that. When I thought about that, I thought I really wanted to bring this topic back up. We've talked about it. It's been it's probably been a while since we've talked about it. But the different types of online family trees that are out there. So the Family Search has the tree. You can have your tree at Family Search out there, but it's kind of more of a, I don't know if I'm using the right term, but it's like a world tree type thing. So in other words, it's going into the database to grow like a large tree kind of for everybody. And so people do have the ability to go in and change information on people that have been added. So somebody could technically go in and change what you've put in there. Now there is a record change that's there, and hopefully they're doing that with good source and citation and good reason for doing that. Although I know that sometimes that's not always the case, but that's that type of tree. Ancestry tree, having a tree at Ancestry or FindMyPast, MyHeritage, those are going to be individual trees that are under your control. Now you can share that tree. You can allow other people to view it. You can allow other people to come on and edit it at whatever capacity you choose, but you have the control over the tree there. So not good or bad, and there are merits to both. But I just wanted you to understand the differences there that are out there. So if you have a tree on Family Search, I would definitely back up to a Family Tree Maker or another software, because if somebody happens to change something, yours is correct, you want to make sure you have your own copy of that as well. Additionally, when it comes to those family tree softwares, for instance, Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic, both, I think Roots Magic does this, they sync to, say, Family Search. I know that Family Tree Maker will sync to Ancestry as well. So, I can work online and offline that way. So wanted to let you guys know. All right, let's see. Danya says she uses Legacy 9.0. online, and you have trees at Online, Family Search, Ancestry, and MyHeritage. And she's also used Roots Magic, and or Elle's also used Roots Magic and Family Tree Maker. Yeah, those tend to be probably the big three. I had forgotten about Legacy 9.0. It's a great program as well. I don't have an affiliate relationship with any of those, just so you guys know. I think it's kind of what you get used to using and what you like to use, so that's a good thing, definitely. Elle said, she was thinking back to that the gentleman who came across to Canada and came into the U.S. Elle said she had a fifth great grandfather that did something very similar, work, as a repairman on the ship from Ireland, but never went back. Yeah, absolutely. And records in the New England Historical Society, great place to look. So New England Historical Society is a good place to look for some of those records that came over. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right. So what else? Oh, I had a really interesting comment. I like this one. It was about Scottish genealogy, guys. Someone put in the Facebook group that they were helping somebody do Scottish genealogy on an ancestor, but they themselves, while they're familiar with genealogy research, had not done much Scottish research. Now, I will be honest, I haven't done a ton of it. I've done some of it, but not a ton of it. I've typically, my Scottish line, I was actually able to kind of tie in and work off of somebody who had a well-known tree out there. So that was kind of my experience, but I want to tell you how to do this. So when it comes, if you're just doing straight up Scottish research, I absolutely recommend, it's a site called Scotland's People. Okay, they're kind of, that's the big site for Scotland. And let me put the link to that in there for you guys. So, and the other thing that I would tell you is that when you are researching there, that what I do is I would recommend going to the homepage there. They have a help tab up at the top, or like a guidance type of tag at the tab. Click on that, because that's where you go. When you click on that, what it does is it tells you how to research. It tells you the beginnings of research and what you need to look for when you're researching genealogy in Scotland, some of the nuances, what kinds of records they have. Those types of things are going to be under the help tab. And the getting started tab. So I always like to do that and be able to, hang on guys, I always seem to get a pop-up in this thing. So that's going to help you out quite a bit. Okay, guys. Oh, hang on. Okay, finally got rid of that pop-up that had shown up there. Sorry. So that's a good place to go when it comes to looking for Scottish ancestors. I would also recommend checking out Facebook. One of the other Facebook group members mentioned a Facebook group called Scottish Ancestry Chat and Research. That would be a good place to go as well to ask questions. I like it going to the Facebook groups because they can point you into the directions for records that you might not necessarily think about, as well as get you started on that. Additionally, because this is Scottish research, definitely check out the FindMyPast blog. It is, you do not need a subscription to read the blog, but they have sections for each of the countries for the UK and how to get started. So how to get started in researching Scottish ancestors, Welsh ancestors, Irish ancestors. So they have that there, and those are free. You don't have to have the subscription for that, guys. But they're well researched, and it just gives you that jump start so that when you get into the records, you know what they mean, basically. So the reason I want to talk about that, so one, if you're looking at Scottish ancestors, those are some great resources for you to start with. But it brings up the bigger question when it comes to starting research in another country. How do you start? Because I don't know if I'm going to go, when I start researching, more of my Welsh line, I actually have to stop and look up how to research Welsh ancestors and what is available to them, type thing, because I don't know. I've not done that particular research yet. So when it comes to that, I always try to find the main archive site that's out there, because frequently, whatever country you're at, whatever their main archival type site is, they will usually have a getting started type of tab or section, and that's where they tell you how to research ancestors in that particular country. It's where they tell you, you know, the nuances or how records are kept or where records might be kept, because they're likely not kept the same as they are kept in the US. So always try to go for that as well. Now, here's a tip. I came across this one time when I was dabbling in some French ancestry. It doesn't matter if the site's in a different language, just hit the Google. There'll be a translate button for Google Translate, and it'll usually convert the text to English or whatever language you need. So that's always a good thing there. Again, check in Facebook groups. People in Facebook groups are very talkative typically, and if they are researching that specific area, then that's important. They have a lot of really good information and can point you in the right directions. You can say, I have ancestors who lived in such and such region of whatever country, and so I probably know something on there. So I recommend that as well for that kind of thing. And then of course, anytime, any things like Ancestry Academy, you know, the FindMyPast blog, MyHeritage has some tutorials. Check out the tutorials on the main sites. Family Search absolutely has tutorials. So you want to check out the tutorials on those sites to kind of get that basic stuff so that you know how to get started and can move your research forward. Rosemary says she researches in Scotland. Your great-grandparents were from Dumfries, and they had a historical society, which I joined, and they were a big help. That is an excellent suggestion. Reaching out and or joining the historical society of that country or that region where your ancestor lived is a great way to learn about the resources and all the nuances that are involved when it comes to researching in a foreign country. So thank you so much for that suggestion, Rosemary. That is excellent, excellent. A lot of it is reaching out to other people and finding out who is doing it and where the best resources are. That's the way to go. Okie doke. Wonderful, wonderful. You guys feel free again if you have suggestions and want to pop them in, go ahead. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about, I get this type of question a lot, actually, more than you would think. And to be honest, I've asked it myself multiple times. It's, what do you do when your ancestor just sort of disappears? So one of the questions I had recently, somebody was researching her ancestor who she lost him between 1850 and 1860. Now, I do not know the location. I assume this is an American ancestor. I do not know the state or anything. But the process is still going to be the same. And the assumption is that he had died. I think there was for some reason, there was an assumption that he had died. And these are tricky. You know, when you cannot find that death date, if you can't find those, you know, a burial or something to show kind of that somebody died, can you assume that they passed away? Well, maybe, maybe not. But essentially what you need to start to do is to rebuild their lives. I create a timeline and rebuild the life year by year for that time period that you've lost them. And in this case, it's 1850 to 1860. So apparently he appeared in the 1850 census, but not necessarily, you know, in the 1860s. So what happened to him? Well, recreating their life year by year is not quite as daunting as you might think. It takes time. Yeah, definitely. But what I do is I look at other records. So what records might help me out here? So in this case, because there was indication that they had assumed he had died, I'm probably going to go ahead and check any mortality schedules that might appear to see if I can get lucky and find out if he appears on a mortality schedule, because if there's no death certificate, which during that time period there wouldn't be, and no other record, that would be where I'd start there. But then I'm probably going to go ahead and see if I can access tax records. Tax records are taken every year, and they can document. That's the beauty of a tax record. Whereas a census goes every 10 years, the tax records will go typically every year in the US. And so you can watch them and track them through where they are in the tax years. So if they're paying taxes, they're there. You might get lucky and it says the estate of somebody. So somebody might be paying off the taxes, you know, that were due on an estate. So you might get lucky and find that. But you can watch, you know, if they appear year after year and then they stop, well, that's an indication something has happened. So 1, they left the area. 2, they may have died. Or 3, and this is really important, guys, they may have potentially aged out. So make sure you have to understand the tax laws, who was being taxed and why they were being taxed. Because if they're there, that's good. But if they're not there, that does not indicate that they died. It just indicates they're not showing up that year. Okay. So, but some tax records will say, you know, you have to pay a poll tax until you are the age 45 and older. Do not, you know, or if they are, you know, a minister, maybe they're exempting, you know, who was exempt that year. So that's really important to know. But it does kind of help you build that case. So, you know, if you find him in 1851, 1852, 1853, but not in 1854, okay, that's where we need to focus that search a little bit further on. Other places to look. I'm probably at that point going to then go into the court records to see if I can find any mention of him in the court records for those particular years, to see, is there an estate thing showing up? Is he appearing on a jury? Is he appearing there at all? Again, trying to put a data point on the timeline of what years he's showing up and when he's not. You can find land records as well. You know, what you're looking through the land records, going through them piece by piece. Is he buying and selling land in 1857? Okay, well then he didn't die in 1854. You know, he's still going strong in 1857. So again, really kind of chipping my way at that as well. And then of course the state records as well. But I think at her case she had checked it, but I do check those estate records as well. Catherine, state censuses, absolutely. If they're usually taken on the years ending in 5 between the federal census, and those are kind of limited for the states that did them. But if the state you're researching did have any state census records, then absolutely you want to check them. I know we talked about that a little bit for Cincinnati, that had those as well, had some of those state censuses, and they went kind of in an odd, they were mostly every 5 years, but then they went odd. I think they went odd, or they went to a different, there was like an 1892 one type thing. So there's that. And Catherine also mentioned city directories, particularly in urban areas. Absolutely. You can follow somebody and track them year by year in a city directory. And I love it because you can track them. And then sometimes what you'll see a gentleman maybe in the directory year after year after year. And then the next year you'll see his wife's name, and in parentheses, you might see the abbreviation for widow, indicating you can then narrow down that he died and that you've got about a year or 2 year time period that he passed away. You just want to make sure you know how often that directory was published. So it's tedious. Well, I don't know if it's tedious because I actually enjoy it because it's fun to do, but getting in there and really rebuilding that ancestor's life year by year is possible. Absolutely. And in many cases, it's actually crucial to being able to delineate, you know, to figure out what actually happened, and did they leave, did they die, you know, maybe their name was just so misspelled or mistranscribed, or the handwriting was so bad on the 1860 census, he didn't show up there, or he was there, but you're just not finding it in the record because it was so poorly written, probably by my ancestors, on that. So yeah, absolutely. When those ancestors disappear, they didn't really disappear. I mean, they sort of did, but start looking, okay? And once you do that, if you still don't have your answer in all of those, then I would probably start looking at the collateral, the people around them, to see if I can pick up any indication on this. I like to look at siblings because sometimes they'll mention a sibling that has gone off like out west type things. So I had an ancestor who disappeared in the 1840s. No. Yeah, 1840s. And all I knew is that he was a tick mark in the 1840 census. That's all I knew. I couldn't identify him. And it was an 1872 estate record that, well, it's court record for an estate that mentioned him by name and that he went out west in the year of 18 such and such and had not been seen or heard of since. So no, he didn't disappear. He went west. Well, I've tracked that guy down. He was in Missouri. So there are ways to do that, but you just have to be very diligent and really, once you've rebuilt what you can of their life, rebuild the parents, rebuild, the siblings, all of those lives. So, all right, guys, what questions might you have? Let's give you a few minutes to ask if you guys have any kind of overarching general questions for genealogy that you want to ask about. I would love to be able to answer them for you, or we can crowdsource them, because I like to crowdsource answers as well. Because I don't research in all areas, so it's a little tough sometimes to do. But yeah, so we can certainly ask the group, or we can see what else we can handle for you. So while I give you guys a little bit of time to do that, let me talk a little bit more about what's happening at on the site next week, so you can kind of plan your time. So on Monday, we will have a Jen Baldwin of FindMyPast, and I will do another Facebook YouTube Live, looking at the New York City records. I am so excited about those. You'd think I actually have ancestors in New York City, which I do not. No, my husband did, but I don't. But I'm really excited about that. I think I'm discovering more and more and more that is pertinent to our research up there, and so I want to be able to. We want to be able to help you guys out with that again. And then the following Monday on the 26th, Josh Taylor will be with us talking more about New York City genealogy. And so that's going to be thrilling. I'm so excited about that one. But you'll find a new blog post next week. You're going to find, watch the Facebook group, the Facebook page, the Are You My Cousin Facebook page. There'll be another contest next week there, so feel free to do that as well, and look forward to seeing what we can find in New York City. I just enjoy, for years I had never been, and then my husband took me up there, and we just really enjoy wandering around and exploring a lot of the history of the city that, beyond the touristy things. So really excited to be taking this virtual trip with FindMyPast up there. All right, guys. I am going to let you guys get back to research today. Feel free, again, pop over to my website, check out the everything page. Make sure you've gotten all the freebie offers. I will probably be updating that again next week as well. So watch out for things that are over there. And I will see you here on Monday, actually, on Monday. So, oh, hey, Jean from Wisconsin. Okay, oh, Pam had a question. Hey, Pam, on your grandpa. He gave his Social Security number to his brother to join the service, and now nothing can be found on your grandpa. Oh, my. That's really interesting. Not even an original. So I've never seen that, actually. Although I have a feeling it maybe happened more than we think. So his brother didn't have one, I'm assuming, Pam. No Social Security. Hey, Carol. Oh my gosh, I don't know. All right, guys, chime in on this one, because I'm not sure the first thing I would do. So he gave it to his brother to join the service. We gave a Social Security number to his brother, and now they can't find anything on the grandpa. So when Social Security, when they first started filling out the forms for that, they actually didn't have to be filled out by the person. They could be filled out by the employer. And so sometimes that may or may not be always correct. Pam, I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna have to actually do a little background research on that. And would you do me a favor and pop that in the Facebook group, if you're part of the group, and I will talk about that. Let me answer that next week, if that's okay. And you remind me if I don't. So you have to be back here next Thursday as well, so we can talk about that. I want to make sure, I'm just not really sure what I would do with that. I just need to sit and think on that and research a bit. So anyway, so we have the Facebook with Jen on Facebook Live on Monday with Jen, but I will be back here next Thursday just for our regular weekly genealogy chat. Okay, we're going to be talking about old handwriting next week, and some of the things, tips and tricks and tools that I use to be able to do that. And I would love for you guys to bring your tips and tricks that you use when it comes to reading old handwriting there as well, because I know that's a struggle for new researchers as well as longtime researchers. You know, we always seem to get that census taker whose handwriting was not very good. All right, guys, go have a fabulous day. I will see you right back here Thursday for our regular genealogy talk next week. Bye.